You were speaking about, as a child, thinking the world revolved around you. And I remember thinking that thought, and at some point dismissing it. Tragic, actually. But in my youth, I was able to attract everything that I focused my attention on. At some point, I moved away from that.
So it's too far back to really isolate and remember, but it's good to try to recall that fresh feeling, that invincible feeling, that unchallenged feeling, that unchallenged by you feeling, what pure focus feels like. And let's give it the word that matters most: clarity. Clarity means an attention to something without contradicting it in the next thought. Yeah, clarity.
Yeah, it is that simple.
Yeah.
And I've had great success at times with
Yeah.
that, and then it escapes
Can you hear
me
it clearly?
again.
Yeah.
So I have an understanding of that. I have a question that's a little different from that. I just wanted to make that statement, that I meditate a lot, and I have a lot of messages that I think come to me in form that my body can recognize. And my questions are about those. What sort of instruction or reassurance or clarity that my inner being or my source is sharing with me as I'm maybe having a thought, and I'll get a physical reaction that comes from that thought, and it'll be maybe like a wave of energy that I feel come down through me, or I will feel
Well, you get to consciously establish your agreement with your inner being. In other words, you can literally say left eye twitch means yes and right eye twitch means no. Your inner being will accommodate whatever agreement that you establish.
So it really is about me setting the parameters and then just listening.
It's about you paying attention and then noticing the pattern. Esther will say every now and again, well, Jerry or Abraham thinks that's a good idea, or they think it's a bad idea. In other words, at first, because there'll be something that she's asking about, she'll get a really strong impulse or awareness that we are listening in, but she has to focus a little bit and get her resistance completely out of the way before she can tell what it is that we are. Here's the best way of saying it. Your emotion will gather momentum that will be undeniable. So what we're really encouraging is that you give it enough time for that to happen, rather than asking yourself to understand the impulse before you've become good at interpreting it. The answer that we really want to give you is don't push it. Don't try to make it happen faster than it's happening. Be patient with your ability to understand what it is you are receiving.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I have another, maybe a different direction to go with this. I think I know what you're going to say, but I'd like to say it anyway. I face a lot of resistance with letting go of some things that were a part of my previous life.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's, in your opinion, any level of consequence to things that we do individually or others do, or if it really is just about the attraction going forward and being in vibrational alignment with what's coming.
Yes,
that
it's
is
the second, because you never get it done and you can't get it wrong. And every step along the way, we're going to talk a lot about this today in every way we can. You have taken the path of least resistance. You've been in a situation where these were the choices, and your inner being is guiding you to those choices. So sometimes your inner being guided you to a choice that was the path of least resistance then, that now isn't the path of least resistance. And so when you regurgitate it now and try to get a reading on it, you get a different answer because the conditions are different. You're hearing that exactly the way we are intending it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about going up the emotional scale. When I had the attachments to what was occurring or unbecoming,
Yes.
then I had a reaction at one level, and then as I've let go of certain aspects of that, the reaction changes as I go forward.
But there's something else that we want to give you. Everything you said there is exactly right. There's something else we want to give you, and that is, it doesn't matter what has been. And what has been, you won't keep having those recurring vibrational attachments to them if you don't keep thinking about them. Well, it's not easy to not think about things that were big, that were traumatic, or that were important. It's not easy to not think about them But the reason that it isn't easy for most people to not think about them is because they're trying not to think about them, which is the same thing as thinking about them. So the answer is you got to think about something else. You've got to fill your now with enough things that call your attention. So distraction really is the name of the game. You've got to distract yourself from what you don't want, because there's no such thing as no in a attraction-based universe. This is only about inclusion. So you include whatever you're thinking about, and that's what feels like a vicious circle for so many of you. You don't want to think about that thing that you're thinking about, but you're thinking about it, and you don't want to think about it, and law of attraction just gives you more to think about, and you want to say, damn you, law of attraction, couldn't you give me a break? And we want to say yes while you sleep. While you sleep, you'll get that break. So when you wake up in the morning, that's critical to starting something new. Critical is too urgent of sounding word. What we really mean to say is it's a poignant, powerful new step in a better direction when you first wake up, because your momentum did subside. The vibration is where you last left it, but the momentum subsided. Can you hear the difference? The momentum subsided, the vibration is where you last left it, and now you can think some thoughts that will eventually alter that vibration. You can completely deactivate vibrations within you. It's sort of like this. Pretend that you are a radio transmitting station, and there are 24 hours in the day. So there's only 24 hours of programming every day that you can offer. And there's way more than 24 hours a day of programming of people who want you to put them on the air. But you can't put them all on the air because there's only 24 hours a day. So you choose what you put on the air. And what you put on the air equals your point of attraction, because your point of attraction is about what you're broadcasting. Ooh. Isn't that nice to know? So you just put on the air what you want to broadcast. You just put the things on the air that feel good. You just fill up that broadcasting time with what feels good to you. And after a while, that other stuff will become so inactive that it won't creep in ever. It'll go away. It'll be non-existent.
Loses the momentum. Yeah.
It loses its momentum, and in time you replace it with active vibrations that become so dominant that what you know becomes different than what you knew. It's great fun to be here with you while we're having leading edge conversation. Yeah.
It is fabulous. With regard to that, with replacing thoughts with other thoughts, which is, I think, really what you're talking about. And
it is what we're talking about, but there's something about saying it like that that keeps the replaced thought in the mix. I mean, that is what we're talking about.
Okay.
But you could do it more purely by saying, thinking thoughts that feel best now. Even best kind of introduces what's less than best. Thinking thoughts that feel good right now. Feel how that was less of introduction of resistant ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, people have mentioned to me before, you can recall your thoughts from the ether or whatever, but that's really not what it's about.
Well, it isn't about memory. It's about activation. So every now and again, Esther will laugh because she'll find herself, something in her now is activated. All kinds of things from her past start streaming, and things she hasn't thought about in a long, long time. She's now thinking about because of something that the now activates. And so you just have to care about how you feel and just catch those things in the early subtle stages and just redefine your programming on your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week broadcasting station.
It's about being focused in the now and paying attention to now.
And caring about how you feel, yeah.
Yeah.
You might say to someone who, through conversation or through something that they're living or doing, introduces something that you can feel is off, and you might say, wait, and they'll say, what are you doing? You say, I'm looking at my programming schedule and realizing that I don't have time for this. Because if I do this for this 5 minutes, then there's something else I can't do. And I got big sponsors out there. I have sponsors that really want the good stuff. infinite intelligence kind of sponsors, source energy kind of sponsors, energy that creates worlds kinds of sponsors. In other words, this matters a lot. Yeah.
Crazy response.